Hello and welcome to this episode of SJUK UK Leaders and Security Podcast. I'm your host, Millie Marshall-Loughran, and I'm the Deputy Editor of Security Journal UK. In this episode, I'm joined with Cassie Watson from Deploi and Julian Cartwright from Guardhouse UK. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you both?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Good. Well, it's great to have you here. Cassie, would you be able to introduce yourself and your role and a little bit about Deploi?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Cassie Watson, co-founder and head of product for Deploi. We've been going for about 18 months now, I'd say, and we are a background checking service. So we leverage technology such as AI, automation, machine learning, plus also, quite a lot of expert knowledge around compliance, BS 7858, and all that sort of stuff to create technology that allows people to get their candidates through as quickly and as compliantly as possible.
Brilliant, thank you. That was really helpful in getting to know what you do for the business. Julian, I would also like to ask you to introduce yourself and your role at Guardhouse, as well as a little bit about what the company does.
Sure. My name is Julian Cartwright. I'm a co-founder of Guardhouse. We're originally an Australian business that's expanded to the UK and into North America, and we've been doing that since November 2018. Guardhouse is a platform designed to save businesses time and reduce their compliance risk while streamlining operations in the field. We're an end-to-end workforce management platform dedicated to the security guarding business, and we've had a good time doing it along the way.
Brilliant. Thank you both so much. So I hope that was helpful to our listeners and getting to know both of you. So we'll get into the questions. So Cassie, what are some of the major compliance challenges UK security firms are facing today?
I think that's a great question. It's a little bit of a tricky one as well. I think the main thing that comes to mind at the moment is supply chain management. I think if you ask anyone, there'll be sort of concerned around the lack of transparency in sort of compliance processes in the security industry at the moment. And that's one of the reasons that we wanted to partner with Guardhouse, is because they've recognised that and have that sort of supply chain management in their system. But there's a real concern around the work of there's cash in hand, and there's a lot of sharing licenses and all this sort of stuff when you start just subcontracting. Obviously, there's some great firms out there, but without that accountability there, that's a real concern. And then something for me that's a little bit more niche perhaps is around BS 7858 and the fact that it's quite a few years old now. It's last released in 2019, and it doesn't provide much accommodation for people that have been employed in foreign countries. So that just adds this really complex layer of trying to figure out what proof someone can get, how they can get references that align with our sort of UK understanding of that. And the fact that a huge amount of license holders come from abroad at the moment means that we're taking a significant amount of the workforce and putting them through this extensive, convoluted process that I think can be ironed out and made a lot smoother.
Yeah, of course. No, that was really interesting. Thank you, Cassie. And Julian, would you like to add anything on that question?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Cassie more in regards to all of that, but also, for our clients in their specific needs day in, day out, they're trying to juggle the licensing, the work time directive, right to work, so all of these kind of things that operationally are very, very difficult for a scheduling team member to actually stay on top of and make sure they're across entirely, just to be able to deploy a staff member out into the field. And I think what we're doing with Deploi will reduce a significant amount of that stress within our customers' business, and make it easier for our customers to actually get on with the job and get team members out in the fields with a lot of that stress removed.
Yeah. And I can imagine there seems to be like a really interesting perspective on, sort of the meeting of loopholes, but also, reliance and getting people to comply by standards. So, yeah, I think you've got some people, from what I've heard today, is that you've got some people that are, they have the paperwork, they have the things they need. And then you've got some people that are trying to sort of, cut corners and such. So that was really interesting. Thank you, guys. So could you shed some light on how things like inconsistent onboarding, training lapses, or shift scheduling errors become compliance risks in operations? Julian, if you want to start off.
Yeah, cool. Well, I guess when operational or internal processes fall down, that will lead to compliance risks. In particular, in the vetting process, vetting is particularly strict. As an Australian, when I came over to the UK, I was pretty surprised at the amounts that our customers actually have to go through to ensure that someone is ready for work. I think it's a really good thing that they do it, but it is hard work, and if it's not being done in the right way, you're inevitably going to deploy people who aren't who shouldn't be actually deployed and shouldn't be able to work out into the field, and that's obviously a huge risk for many reasons, but a huge risk to the business overall. Again, another reason why we're looking to develop this partnership with Deploi to reduce that issue. But like, it's not just in that; it's also, you talk about issues around like the scheduling team, like overworking staff with, working time directive, like just over scheduling people. Our system tries to put a whole lot of rules in place, and if you set up the system in the way you would like, the system will remove a lot of those concerns from you. But it's a huge task that, systems are there in place to assist with making that all work properly.
Thank you. Cassie, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that area is probably more of Julian's forte, but I think there's definitely sort of concerns around inconsistency and fragmented processes. They just really scream of those poor foundations of organisation and not being able to sort of manage your tasks. And if you can't get the basics right there, then all of your sort of compliance issues are potentially at risk. So there's a lot to go at there.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, just from my own experience, staffing issues tend to be a big issue today with high turnover and skills gaps. So it's really interesting that your platform helps to aid that. And so we'll go on to the next question. So how can security companies use technology to optimize their compliance procedures and reduce the administrative burden of compliance without cutting corners? Cassie, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, for sure. So I think cutting corners is much easier to do when you're when you're not using technology. I think technology, fortunately, provides a lot of frameworks and processes that force you to sort of go through these structured processes, which is fantastic. However, I'd say a huge thing that you can do there is use companies like us, really, to be honest. Deploi and Guardhouse, we really sort of pride ourselves on providing those foundations and structures for companies. And I think another thing that you can do is just keep up to date with legislation too. The technology is only going to be as good as or as sort of reassuring as the legislation out there. And if you aren't aware of those things, if you're not keeping your eye on what's going on, then you're not going to be able to get the full extent out of these sort of technologies.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, just to expand upon what Cassie said, and adhering to legislation, which is a constantly evolving element of the industry. It is on us as technology providers to be as on top of that as possible and deliver solutions for businesses out there. So one of the, I suppose, a reason to start using technology in the business is because it's on us to ensure that you're going to be on top of things. So we will be building processes at all times so you can stay ahead of the game. And if you just follow the workflows that are designed in technology, and that's not necessarily Guardhouse, it's all sorts of systems, but I think we do a very good job on it. It allows you to stay on top of things. It removes the possibility of cutting corners, which I think is really important in an industry that's ever evolving. Yeah,
of course. No, I can imagine. So talking of optimizing technology, if there's one shift security businesses should make today to future-proof their operation, what is it?
Yes, absolutely. I think you are doing yourself a disservice as a business if you are not using an end-to-end workforce management system dedicated to the workflows of your industry. So Guardhouse is a security industry specific solution. We do not cater to any other industries. We are security focused. This ensures that, I have a lot of self-interest in what I'm saying here because we're trying to promote our products, but we build things, all our compliance processes are dedicated to security. All of the flags that we do in the system are there to ensure that security businesses aren't getting themselves into issues. We're taking care of your scheduling, your compliance, your HR, your payroll, your reporting. It just goes on and on and on for your industry. I think if you're not using a dedicated workforce management platform specific to your industry, you're just missing out on the benefits that you could have as a business.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Julian. And Cassie, do you have anything to add to optimizing technology within security businesses?
Yeah. I found this question really difficult, like pinpointing just one thing. But I think, you could sort of go at a million things. But when I've really dug down into it, I think, the security industry, especially, the sort of like manned guarding, which I don't think is a term that you're supposed to use anymore. But that is, it's a frontline workforce. It is about people. And I think the best way that you can future-proof security right now is to invest in those people. I think there are some real conversations around what security does for the UK at the moment on the back of quite a few sort of quite significant events. And obviously, with the Manchester bombing and stuff, we're quite close to that memorial, so it's never sort of far from our minds. But there's also a couple of other things, like I think as police cuts take place, there's going to be more security sort of performing those duties as well. And you want those people to be experienced, you want them to be well trained, you want them to be high performers. And I think that is a huge investment. So looking after these people, ensuring that they have gone through the proper compliance processes, that they are the right people to be out on the street, that they are trained, that they understand the company culture, they've been onboarded properly, they know what's being asked of them. I think to have a high quality workforce in this day and age sets you apart from a lot of other security companies right now.
Yeah, of course. From doing some of my work, I've noticed that there's a lot of talk about skills gaps and how, you've got that younger generation that maybe aren't getting into the security industry. And then you've got an older generation that have sort of become CEOs and, big industry experts. But you do have skills gaps as in any industry, I suppose. But it seems to be specifically prevalent in security. So thank you, guys. For growing firms, scaling operations often increases complexity. How can digital platforms help them scale without compromising compliance or reliability? Cassie, do you want to set us off?
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest thing that you can do here is kind of the point that Julian just made in the other question. It's using specialist software. Mm-hmm. They have those processes and workflows built in that allow you to scale. They've seen a one-man band do it. They've seen a massive company do it, and they know how they get from step A to step B. So supporting that, there's not just people, but there's processes there that support you with that scaling. And I think the people is a huge part there. So I know our team, and I know the team at Guardhouse, if you message someone there and said, what does a team that's much bigger than us right now do to ensure that they're scaling properly without sort of losing any of their competitive edge? What do they do? What tips can you give me? That's what those sort of QBRs are there for. That's what the account managers are there for, to actually give you that guidance that the software itself can't do. And I think another huge part of this is about the connected platform. So while you are looking at these sort of specialist softwares, each has to have its own niche. So to scale properly, it might be that a small platform that does everything and they do it all right is great at first. But what you want when you're getting bigger is these niches that can integrate together, that have the sort of APIs, they streamline your workflows for you, and they allow you to ensure that each area is high performing while also working together and reducing that sort of manual burden.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Cassie. Julian, anything on scaling operations? Yeah,
I think that final point that Cassie was just making is a really interesting one in regards to connectivity. Guardhouse, we try and be an all-in-one platform, but we're also trying to be an all-in-one platform globally. Screening and vetting is at the moment a particularly big problem in the United Kingdom. We know that we're not going to be best served we're not going to serve our customers the best way trying to build that ourselves. That's why we went and looked for a partner, and Deploi we found was just head and shoulders in terms of their vision and what they're delivering above others. And that's why it's a great benefit to our customers to look for solutions that are bringing in best in class wherever they can go, which allows them to scale in the best way.
Brilliant. Thank you, Julian. So I suppose just going off of that last question, I just wanted to know a bit more about your partnership. So how is the Guardhouse UK and Deploi partnership helping businesses stay both compliant and competitive?
This just feels like sort of compliment tennis, but We've absolutely loved Guardhouse. I mean, there's a lot of workforce management systems out there, but the care that these guys have and the detail that they have in the security sector is absolutely fantastic. And I think that people that aren't with Guardhouse right now are sort of missing a bit of a trick and sort of missing that edge. So that's why we went with them. And I'm not just sort of talking about Guardhouse solely, but I think this sort of partnership really is sort of greater than the sum of its parts. I think we're both fantastic platforms that are working together, and we're sort of really open teams that want the best for the customers in the end. There's no sort of competitive issues there. It's all about making sure that the actual end users of our products are getting exactly what they need. So that might be through integration. It might be through the fact that Deploi gets loads of really useful compliance data that would really benefit Guardhouse and vice versa, and that we can make each other better. By making the systems better, we're really empowering users to be competitive. As soon as you've got that speed of clearance straight into your system where you know that this person is screened in a couple of days and that's it, they're ready to work straight away, and you're able to see that in one system without sort of having to flick through loads of different softwares and processes and all this sort of stuff, that's when you start filling those contracts really quickly, and that's when you start being able to bid for much bigger contracts.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Cassie. And Julian?
Yeah, I think just business to business, there is a real appreciation for each other's approach to how they're taking on their segment of the industry. We really enjoyed getting to know the Deploi team just as a first step, and then when we started talking about what that looks like in more depth in a working relationship and an integration. We're both businesses that are hugely focused on finding the best solution. That is building our best product possible and ensuring we can come up with the best delivery possible, because it all has to go to the customer in the end. And if you have the best solution, it's going to be great for our customers. And that's what's the most important thing. I think both sides of this partnership really reflect that as part of their vision. And it's been really good so far.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. So, Cassie, I've just got a last question for you. And it's, how does digital transformation shift the mindset from tick box and compliance to proactive risk management?
I love this question because this is why I'm so passionate about compliance. I've worked in the security industry for about 7 years now, and I've seen compliance treated as such a box ticking exercise, and it's driven me crazy. I think the worst thing I've ever seen is someone try to prove their time spent on holiday with a picture of them next to a llama, and they've just gone, yep, job done. That does not prove anything, and it's sort of terrifying that that's been accepted and that person's been allowed to work. So this is what Deploi is sort of all about, is being able to turn this from a series of questions that you need to answer to a collection of data that you get, and data that informs you whether or not that person has any sort of risk associated with them. And from there, whether or not you have any trends in your hiring, in your onboarding, in your vetting that perhaps lead you to be able to identify risks or even good performers in your business. I think that's fantastic. So what we're trying to do with Guardhouse at the moment is take a lot of that data that we get through their activity history, their address history, any sort of risks that might pop up, and be able to create much more of a dynamic process. So I think the main answer to this question is around data. It's about how you use it, but I think there's another area of information as well. It takes one thing to go wrong before you stop treating compliance or BS 7858 as a box ticking exercise. After that, you are absolutely by the book. And we want to educate people so that they aren't seeing it as something that you have to do just in case, but something that helps you develop a sustainable, robust, secure business.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cassie. So, Julian, just last question for you now. How important are these partnerships in the security industry?
I think these partnerships are extremely important, and I think they've just become more and more relevant as time goes on. There are only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much that an individual system can actually do to deliver absolute best in class to their customers. For us, we have a huge focus now on developing partnerships globally, but in particular in the UK with Deploi, to deliver a part of the system that we just don't address, and we're going to struggle to address well for our customers. Partnerships like this I think are the future, letting systems absolutely specialize in a specific area and integrate into and find integration partners to just deliver for the industry that they're servicing. I think this is the future of the industry, I feel, the future of systems like ours, and it's something that we're really proud of, that we're taking the first step with Deploi.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Julian. Well, thank you so much to the both of you. It's been really interesting speaking to you both about your partnership and compliance challenges. So thank you for joining me today on this episode. And thank you to our listeners for tuning into Security Journal UK's Leaders in Security podcast series. I've been your host, Millie Marshall-Loughran, and make sure to keep an eye out for our next episode. Thank you.